All right, in this video, we're going to talk about cost volume profit analysis. And so let's take an example where we have a product with a selling price of 12, variable costs of 7, and a contribution margin of 5. It gives us a contribution margin of 5. And in our example, we're going to start with the fixed cost, the very basic part. So fixed cost is $45,000. So usually the first thing we want to um, get when we do a CVP analysis is the break-even point. So break-even is going to be our fixed cost of 45,000 divided by our contribution margin of 5, and that means we need to sell 9,000 units. Okay, this is not dollars, this is units. Now, if you want instead to get dollars instead of units, then you need to change this contribution margin into the contribution margin ratio. So the contribution margin ratio, and I usually abbreviate that with a percent sign, equals the contribution margin of 5 divided by the selling price of 12. And when we do that, grab my calculator here. We get 0.41667. And you could round that to 0.417. That would be fine. So in this case, we will take the break even to be 45,000 divided by 0.41667, and that's going to be $108,000. Now we can check that by looking at the 9,000 units and say 9,000 units times a selling price of 12, and that comes out to the same 108,000. All right, so that's basic contribution margin. But most of the time we want to do better than just break even. We like to show a profit. So let's go here and we'll say that our target profit is $15,000. So the way we get that is we just add the target profit, we add the fixed cost, 45,000, plus the 15,000 target profit. So we're just treating that target profit as if it was a fixed cost. So that would be 60,000 divided by 5, the contribution margin. And so we would get 12,000 units here. And if we wanted to do the contribution margin ratio, we would say 45,000 plus 15,000 divided by 0.41667. And it looks like it would round up to 100. I get 143,998 on my calculator, so that would probably round up to 144,000. Again, we check that out. 12,000 enter times 12 would be 144,000. All right. Well, that's great, except we have this problem in our country in which we have to pay taxes on profit, right? So what if my after-tax target profit is 15% or 15,000? So I'm looking at my take home now, and my tax rate is 40%. That might be a little bit high today, but when we look at taxes, we're looking at both state, local, and federal income taxes and that sort of thing. And so we would look at our after tax, that up just a little bit, target profit as being 45 plus, now we put the profit over 1 minus the tax rate. And our tax rate is 40%. And then we divide that whole thing by our contribution margin of 5. And so 1 minus the tax rate, 15,000, divided by 0.6. 1 minus 0.4 is 0.6. Would be 25,000. So we get 45,000 plus 25,000 divided by 5. And so that's 70,000 divided by 5 equals 14,000. So now we have to sell 14,000 units. And of course, move this down just a hair. We can do the exact same thing with the contribution margin ratio, 45,000 plus 15,000 over 1 minus the tax rate, because 1 minus the tax rate is what we have remaining, right? 60%, which equals, that's over contribution margin ratio, I'm sorry, 0.41667. And so now we get our 70,000 divided by 0.41667. And that's going to round up to $168,000 that we need to sell. So if you want units, you divide by the contribution margin. If you want dollars, you divide by the contribution margin ratio. All right, so that is the basics of CVP analysis.